The wetlands, areas saturated with water seasonally or all year round, such as lakes, marshes and bogs. Important habitats for different forms of life. Many birds depend on wetlands for sustenance on their migration journeys, or else they live there permanently. Food is abundant, and roosting places offer birds an excellent place for breeding and raising their young. Wetland birds visit these habitats during at least one stage of their life cycle, such as feeding, breeding or roosting. Among them, there are many water birds, birds that swim or walk in the water. However, there are also birds which are found in the surrounding areas and vegetation. Large numbers of wetland birds arrive in Cyprus every year, attracted to a variety of areas, such as salt and brackish lakes, freshwater lakes, dams, sewage treatment plants and coastal areas. Some of these wetlands are important at both European and international levels, and have been recognized by the European Union and international laws and conventions. 6 important wetland areas, Larnaca Salt Lake, Akna Dam, Evretu Dam, Asprokremos Dam, Paralimni Lake and Oraklini Lake, support some of the most valuable and threatened species and habitats in Europe. For this reason, they have been designated as Special Protection Areas, SPAs, under the EU Birds Directive, and form part of the Natura 2000 network, which is an EU-wide network of nature protection areas. Other important wetlands are the dams at Aya Erini, Kalokorio and Panagra, as well as wetlands in the Famagusta area. These wetlands have been studied as part of a project funded by the European Union. The aim of the project is to provide technical assistance on the management and protection of potential Natura 2000 sites. 2 of the most important wetlands in Cyprus are also Ramsar sites. A Ramsar site is a site which supports internationally important numbers and species of wetland birds. According to the Ramsar Convention, a designated site must be protected, with all plant and animal species it supports. Larnaca Salt Lake has been a Ramsar site since 2001, and Akrotiri Salt Lake and Livadi Marsh have been sites since 2003. Cyprus is located on a major bird migration route between Europe and Africa and the Middle East. Migratory birds breed in Europe during spring and summer, and in autumn they fly south to spend the winter in Africa or the Middle East, where it is warmer. Most autumn migrants pass through the island during August, September, October and November on their southward journey. Many stay and spend the winter in Cyprus, mainly from December to February. In spring, they return northward to their breeding areas. Spring migrants pass through Cyprus during March, April and May on their northward journey to their nesting areas in Europe. However, after the winter rains, the island has an abundance of food, and for this reason, many birds stay for several days or weeks, or even nest here. One of our best-known visitors is the greater flamingo. It is one of the most spectacular water birds seen in Cyprus and one of the world's most beautiful birds. Flamingos are a familiar sight, particularly at Larnaca and Akrotiri salt lakes and the Famagusta wetlands. Some are also seen at Orakloni Lake. The flamingos arrive in Cyprus in autumn and spend the winters here. They are social birds that live in flocks of up to thousands. Internationally important numbers of 5,000 to 10,000 birds are usually present in Cyprus from December to February. In spring, they migrate west to France and Spain, or east to Iran and Turkey, where they nest in colonies and have their young. Flamingos live and feed in shallow waters. The name flamingo comes from the flaming red color of the bird's feathers, and is caused by what they eat: tiny brine shrimp which contain carotenes, strongly colored pigments with a red-orange hue. These are the same pigments that give carrots their distinctive color. Flamingo chicks are born gray, and juvenile birds are gray-brown. If adult flamingos don't have enough carotene containing brine shrimp in their diet, they become pale. Ducks are another common migratory species passing through Cyprus. In autumn, large numbers of ducks fly over and around the coastline on their southward journey to Africa, while many of them stay and spend the winter here. At least 15 species of ducks are found at our wetlands. One of these is the mallard, a common autumn migrant and winter visitor, and is sometimes resident all year round. The mallard is the ancestor of almost all the varieties of domestic ducks. The Northern Chavalla is another common winter visitor. It is a small to medium-sized duck, easily recognized by its long bill, which is shaped like a spoon. With this bill, it filters food from the water, such as plankton, crustaceans, insects and seeds. In spring 2010, Northern Chavallas nested in Cyprus for the first time in 100 years. They nested at Oroklini Lake, while 100 years ago, in 1910, they had nested at Kuklia Reservoir. Another very common winter visitor to our wetlands is the Eurasian teal. This species of duck forms large concentrations with large flocks of tens and sometimes hundreds of individuals gathering at winter roosting sites. The garganet is a small duck which breeds in Europe and Western Africa. It is strictly migratory, with its entire population moving to southern Africa and Australasia in winter, and it is a common passage migrant in Cyprus. Other water birds are resident in Cyprus and observed all year round, and one of them is the common coot. The common coot often nests and has young in Cyprus. From studies done in other countries, we know that it displays so-called conspecific parasitism, which means that the female bird lays eggs in the nests of other female coots. This is similar behavior to cuckoos, although cuckoos will lay their eggs in the nests of other species. By doing this, the parasitic female saves time and energy because she uses another female to raise her young, while she spends more time looking for food and producing more offspring. Another water bird living in Cyprus is the common moorhen. It looks a bit like a duck, but it isn't one. At a distance, it may be confused with the common coot, but look out for the characteristic white markings on its flanks and undertail, and the red shield on its forehead. Its long toes are adapted for walking on soft, uneven surfaces. Like the common coot, the females of this species also lay eggs in the nests of other female moorhen. Another interesting thing about the common moorhen is that it raises at least 2 broods during the breeding season, in spring and summer. Moorhens are very unusual among birds because the offspring of the first brood help to guard and feed the chicks of the next brood. meaning that the older brothers and sisters help in raising their younger siblings. The little grebes arrive in Cyprus in autumn to spend the winter at our wetlands, while some live here all year round. The little grebe is a water bird known to dive into the water to chase its prey. It is a strong swimmer and chases fish and other small invertebrates underwater. The chicks leave the nest and can swim soon after hatching, and are often carried on the backs of the swimming adults. In the past, little grebes were hunted around the world for their plumage and feathers, and also as food. Many species of water birds are passage migrants in Cyprus. They stop over for a few days or weeks. During this time they rest and feed before continuing their journey either to the north or to the south. Such birds include many small waders, birds which walk in shallow water looking for food. The common snipe is a common passage migrant, but it sometimes also spends winter in Cyprus. This bird is characterized by a very long, slender bill and cryptic plumage. The common snipe wades in water and moves its long bill like a sewing machine to search for invertebrates in the mud. The cryptic plumage of this bird serves as camouflage. Since the common snipe is hunted in many countries around the world, its plumage hides it from hunters in wetland environments. When it flies, it doesn't fly in a straight line, so that hunters have difficulty shooting it down. The common greenshank has the long legs common to waders and is another often seen passage migrant. It usually stops over to breed in Cyprus on its way to the taiga and forests of northern Europe and Siberia. Not long after the eggs hatch, one parent usually leaves, and the remaining parent raises the young. Sometimes the parents split up the chicks between them, raising them separately. Glossy ibises are large wading birds. In Cyprus they are common passage migrants in spring and can be seen flying in flocks with outstretched necks, often in V formation. The glossy ibis feeds by wading in shallow water and probing with its long bill into the mud at the edge of marshes and wet fields. Its diet consists of crabs, crayfish, aquatic invertebrates, as well as frogs, fish and plants. Although glossy ibises are predominantly passage migrants in Cyprus, this species nested for the first time on the island in 2010 at the Famagusta wetlands. Glossy ibises nest in small mixed colonies with other wading birds. The largest European wading bird is the Eurasian Curlier. It is a rare passage migrant and winter visitor to Cyprus. In Europe, the breeding populations of this species have been declining over the last 2 decades. Climate change has brought on milder winters and has pushed the birds further north to take advantage of better feeding conditions, and so they remain closer to their breeding grounds. Another group of birds found in Cyprus are herons and egrets. In total, 9 species are found in Europe, all of which can be found in Cyprus. The cattle egret feeds in wetlands and fields. It often follows sheep, cattle and goats to catch the insects and small animals that they disturb, or else it stands on the backs of big animals like goats to remove ticks and flies from their skin. This bird stops over in Cyprus during spring and autumn migration. However, a population of about 80 pairs have been nesting at wetlands in Famagusta at least since 2007. These birds nest in colonies near water, in trees and bushes together with other egrets and herons. The little egret is also a medium-sized white bird which is common during autumn and spring migration. Some birds breed in Cyprus when conditions are favourable. Little egrets have also been observed at the Pedios River in Nicosia. These birds are lively hunters and feed mainly by walking through water and snapping at their prey, which are small fish, amphibians and insects. They also feed by running and agitating the water with their feet to disturb prey. In the 17th century in Europe, the neck plumes of the little egret and other egrets were used to decorate women's hats. The squacco heron is one of the smaller members of the heron family. It gets its name from its piercing call, which is a very loud squawk. The squawk is most often heard at night, especially during the breeding season. In Cyprus, the squacco heron is a common passage migrant. In spring 2007, a small breeding colony was discovered at a wetland in Famagusta. The grey heron is a very common passage migrant. A few birds are present during summer and some remain all winter. This is the largest European heron. It is usually seen standing at the water's edge waiting to catch fish, frogs and insects with its long bill, but also small mammals, reptiles and small birds. It may stand with its neck stretched out looking for food, or hunched down with its neck bent over its chest. Another important heron species occurring in Cyprus is the purple heron. It is a common passage migrant and comes in great numbers in autumn. Purple herons are shy and solitary hunters. They prefer to stand and wait in cover, staying motionless for long periods of time in shallow water or perched on low, dense trees and bushes. With their slim bills, they spear and kill fish, frogs, insects, small mammals, and even large snakes. The lapwing is a familiar farmland bird in northern European countries, and a winter visitor to Cyprus, where it is found at wetlands with short vegetation. It is pigeon-sized and from a distance appears black above and white below. Closer observation reveals that the upper parts are an iridescent dark green and purple. Small winter concentrations of lapwings are found at Miamilia sewage treatment plant. For most of the month, these birds feed in the daytime and roost at night, while a few days around full moon, the opposite happens and they feed at night and roost during the day. Belonging to the same family is the spur-winged lapwing, an Afro-tropical species found in sub-Saharan Africa, Egypt, Southeast Europe and the Middle East. It is often found in open mudflats and marshy habitats with low and sparse vegetation near water. It is a common passage migrant and regular winter visitor with a small resident population. In Europe, this bird breeds only in Cyprus, Greece and Turkey. The breeding habitats of the stilts are marshes, shallow lakes and ponds. Black-winged stilts wade in the shallows and hunt prey that is close to the surface, and sometimes they put their heads underwater to catch it. Both the spur-winged lapwing and the black-winged stilt are listed in Annex 1 of the EU Birds Directive, and they are the defining species for the classification of Paralimni and Oroklini lakes as special protection areas in the Natura 2000 network. All the birds we have seen are just a small sample of the variety of birds that can be observed at wetland areas in Cyprus. Both in terms of water birds, but also bird species in general, Cyprus is very important at a regional, European and international level. Regular monitoring of wetland areas that support these and other water bird species is important and necessary if we want to take coordinated measures to conserve migratory and resident water birds. Historically, there used to be many natural wetlands in Cyprus, including both freshwater and saltwater ones. Most of the freshwater wetlands have been lost. In fact, many of them were dried out during the 19th century in the course of campaigns to eradicate malaria. However, there are still important saltwater wetlands at Larnaca, Akrotiri and Famagusta. Many artificial wetlands, such as dams and sewage plants, are also increasingly used by water birds. Today, land reclamation for urban and agricultural development in Cyprus has destroyed and continues to destroy wetland areas. Another cause of destruction can be traced to changes in water flows because of upstream damming and agricultural chemicals or excess nutrient runoff from farms. Wetlands are among the most productive habitats in the world. They provide food, water and shelter for fish, shellfish, birds and mammals, and they serve as a breeding ground and nursery for numerous species. Many endangered plant and animal species are dependent on wetland habitats for their survival. During migration, many birds return to the same stopover places year after year. When they set off on their journey, they are fat, but they burn this fat for fuel on the flight and can lose nearly half their weight. When they return, if they find their old resting place gone or severely damaged, they cannot afford to look for a new one. Loss of their habitat may spell their death. Therefore, each wetland, each stopover point, is a vital link in the chain of wetlands along the migratory flyway and therefore crucial to the bird's survival. Wetland protection is complex and involves all of us. So let us work together to ensure that wetlands, these important cradles of life, are protected and conserved for the next generations.